Ted Kennedy has been called one of the most influential senators in U.S. history. President Obama today heralding Kennedy's 5 decades of political work, saying his effort affected every major piece of legislation to advance the civil rights, health, and the economy. Let's bring in Eleanor Clift, contributing editor, Newsweek magazine. Eleanor, thanks for your time this morning. Very emotional moment for many who worked for Ted Kennedy. How will we remember him as a senator, a fighter, an unselfish man, a man who certainly supported labor at every issue? But his personality seems to be remembered a great deal this morning by those who worked with him about what kind of worker he actually was. How will you remember him?
Well, he defined the public policy of this country for a generation, and he put his mark on every piece of progressive social legislation. And he did it at the same time that his political opponents were making millions of dollars off of him, demonizing him, and yet they worked with him on Capitol Hill. So it was the genius of this man that he could separate the hostility that was waged against him and look at that as sort of part of the political game, and yet forge deals. And he will be remembered really for championing incrementalism. He felt that if you could get the beginnings of a policy in place, that you could then build on it. And sometimes that got him in trouble with his Democratic allies, who felt that he compromised too much. But when he signed off on a deal, he could sell it to his liberal allies. I mean, the trust in Ted Kennedy was enormous. And so I think what a lot of Democrats are thinking, a lot of progressives are thinking, is that we've not only lost a great man and a great ally, but we've lost the 60th vote in the U.S. Senate at a very critical time. A very critical time. The health care debate in this country is raging. Senator Kennedy had said it was the cause of his life. It was his #1 passion. He had been an advocate for health care for all Americans for decades. He had this to say about health care reform.
As long as I have a voice in the United States Senate, it's going to be for that Democratic platform plank that provides decent quality of health care, north and south, east and west, for all Americans as a matter of right and not a privilege.
Eleanor, that voice now missing from the debate, how much of an impact will it have?
Well, enormous, because he was a gifted legislator. He's been missed throughout this entire year. He worked the phones, and he did keep his staff together, being very active on health care. But without his personal intervention, I think that President Obama has encountered a lot more difficulty than he would otherwise. Kennedy was known for his mastery of the deal, of knowing exactly which sweet spot to go after with each senator, when to bring them together, when to make the exercise of compromise. And it was instinctive with him. And to this day, if you go around the country and you say to people, Ted Kennedy is the most gifted legislator on Capitol Hill, everybody loves him. He has the respect and the admiration of his political enemies. People are disbelieving, because some of the old stories about him certainly linger on, but he has lived a life of political redemption for the last 3 decades.
And Eleanor Clift, is his passing in some way going to be a special motivating factor for those who are working on health care to, say, get it done?
I wrote columns earlier this year that this was the Kennedy moment, that the legislators would be motivated to get something done so that he could sign it, so that he could be at the signing ceremony. It's gotten so acrimonious, I don't think anything could really, cut through. I would like to believe that, and maybe as we go through this period of mourning and grieving and reflecting on his career, maybe people will be able to put some of these partisan fights in perspective and move ahead. I would like to think that will be Ted Kennedy's legacy.
Hopefully so. Eleanor Clift, Newsweek magazine, thanks for your insight today.
Thank you, Ed.